And there came a time known as the third millennium, a time when the people of the earth were ravaged by disease, pestilence, and poisons, a time when the horsemen of the apocalypse ran the multinational corporations, a time when America's citizens were waking up to a future of no money and no jobs, a time when a special man came forward, a man that your American taskmasters did not want you to see or hear, a man whom they took prisoner and hid away, a man whose name is Yahweh ben Yahweh. For telling people the truth, Yahweh ben Yahweh was taken prisoner by the minions of darkness. For giving people hope, Yahweh ben Yahweh was led away to Golgotha. This is the continuing story of the past and of the future, about good and about evil, about your life and what it will become. A story that tells why the so-called black man of America had to suffer for over 400 years. A story of what will happen to the so-called black man if he returns to the laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments of God, Yahweh. Olam shall Yahweh. The universe of Yahweh. Brought to you by the nation of Yahweh. Working for you and your future.
Good or evil, life or death. This is your choice in this, the year 6002, the year of judgment. Shalom and welcome to the universe of Yahweh. My name is Josiah Israel, and I am your host. For over 7 years now, we have been discussing some of the things the Bible said would occur in the day of judgment. We warned you that the weather was going to change and that the powerful forces of nature were going to bring terrible destruction upon America and the world, and that it was going to get worse and worse and worse. And it has. We alerted you that violence in the public schools was going to increase, and it has. We showed you in the scriptures that forewarned of wickedness in high places, and we are witnessing today gross misconduct and serious crimes being committed by some of our highest elected officials. What lies ahead for America and the world is nothing less than the proliferation of deadly diseases and plagues as foretold in the Bible. But there is hope. The Bible tells us that at the end the Messiah would be revealed, and at that time he would save the righteous from this impending destruction. That one, the Messiah, is Yahweh ben Yahweh. So we invite you to join us in the universe of Yahweh, featuring the commandments of Yahweh and the Messiah revealed. First, the commandments of Yahweh.
For 6,000 years, we have been suffering at the hands of rulers who transgress the laws of Yahweh and teach all people throughout the earth to transgress the laws of Yahweh. In order to have peace, love, and harmony upon the earth, we must return to keeping the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of Yahweh. All of us have been taught that the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes in the Old Testament Bible do not count today. In this series, we will show you that the commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes in the Old Testament Bible do count, and that if we govern our lives according to these commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes of God Yahweh, then we will have peace and goodwill upon the earth forever. We invite you to study along with us. However, in order to do so, you must have the following tools: a King James Version of the Bible, several dictionaries, the New Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, a set of encyclopedias, Hebrew and Greek lexicons, a thesaurus, and a synonym finder.
Shalom, my name is Ben Kail Bethel Yisrael. We are discussing the commandments of Yahweh. Many people believe that the first commandments were given to Moses. But the fact is, the first two commandments ever given to man were given to Adam, which were to dress and to keep the Garden of Eden. We discussed the first commandment, to dress the Garden of Eden, in previous shows. Now we are discussing the second commandment, which was to keep the Garden of Eden. In order to help make our next point of view easier to understand, let us review some of what we discussed last week about the word keep. The word keep, we told you, means sure. Sure was defined as free from doubt. Free from suggested something lacking, and doubt implied an uncertain state of affairs. After examining the meaning of state of affairs, we explained that Yahweh commanded Adam to make sure that all public or private activities, undertakings, transactions, and businesses operating or taking place in the Garden of Eden were not lacking in moral strength. Psalm chapter 112, verse 5, affirmed that a good man will guide his affairs with discretion, which was described as the ability to make responsible decisions. Proverbs chapter 2, verse 11, confirmed that the ability to make responsible decisions will preserve the Garden of Eden. The word sure, we told you, also means to make firm. We learned from the meaning of the word firm that the laws of Yahweh were the principles and general rules by which all businesses in the Garden of Eden were to operate and by which to make responsible decisions. We also told you that Yahweh commanded Adam to teach or tutor all business owners and all the inhabitants of the land the laws of Yahweh, so that it might be well with them and their children forever, which was verified in Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 29. Moreover, we explained that even the simple-minded in business will become wise, and his business sure, if he would keep the laws of Yahweh. We read Psalm chapter 19, verse 7, and Psalm chapter 111, verses 7 and 8, and proclaimed that if all activities, undertakings, transactions, and businesses were conducted in truth and uprightness, the laws of Yahweh, they would stand fast forever and ever. We pointed out that because man has refused to practice the laws of Yahweh, there is global economic destruction. On the whole, we let it be known that the same moral strength that Yahweh commanded Adam to keep in the Garden of Eden is the same moral strength that the second Adam, Yahweh ben Yahweh, is commanding us to keep today. We shall continue our discussion today of the second direct command that Yahweh gave to man, Adam, which was to keep the Garden of Eden heaven. On the authority of the New Strong's Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible, copyright 1990, in the Hebrew Chaldee Dictionary, on page 118, reference number 8104, Keep in Hebrew is shamar, and another one of its meanings is wait. To keep the Garden of Eden means the same as to wait the Garden of Eden. Now, exactly what does this mean? Documented in the Cassell Concise Dictionary, Revised Edition, copyright 1998, on page 1646, wait means to be in a state of expectation or readiness for. On page 507, expectation is defined as the probability of a future event. The root word of probability is probable. And on page 1157, probable means likely to happen or prove true. Wait, as it relates to keep, means that Yahweh commanded Adam to have his mind in a state of expectation or readiness for the likelihood of a future event to take place, or for the likelihood of a future event to prove true. Let's find out what this could possibly have been. But before we go there, let us remind you of the fact that when Yahweh took Adam and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it, he commanded Adam not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And he warned Adam that the day that he eateth thereof, he shall surely die. Genesis chapter 2, verses 15 through 17. In Genesis chapter 2, verses 21 and 22, Yahweh caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he took one of his ribs and made a woman. Now the next event to take place was the greatest to ever befall man. This is where the serpent entered the picture. Before we get into what the serpent did, let us get an understanding of the meaning of the word serpent. On page 1346 of the Cassell Concise Dictionary, Revised Edition, serpent means a treacherous, insinuating person. Treacherous means one who misleads or deceives. Insinuating characterizes one who entraps or tricks another. Serpent also means the devil. And on page 394, devil means a wicked or cruel person. So we see here that serpent is not talking about a snake that crawls on the ground, but rather a person who misleads, deceives, entraps, and tricks another, thus a wicked and cruel person. Now let us verify this by opening our Bibles to Genesis chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, and learn what this serpent-minded person did, and it reads in part. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahweh had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath Yahweh said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Yahweh hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for Yahweh doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. We see here that Adam ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And although he ate from this forbidden tree, Adam did not die physically at that time, according to Genesis chapter 5, verse 5, which reads, "And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died." So Adam did not die physically at that time, because we see here that Adam lived to be 930 years old. Therefore, what was the immediate consequence of Adam's disobedience? One answer can be found in Genesis chapter 3, verse 23, and it reads in part, "Therefore the Lord God Yahweh sent him, Adam, forth from the Garden of Eden." The immediate consequence was that Adam was sent forth from the Garden of Eden. Stated in Webster's 9th New Collegiate Dictionary, copyright 1989, on page 1072, sent is a past and past participle of send. On page 1071, send means to direct, order, or request to go. Forth is synonymous to out. As a result of Adam's disobedience, Yahweh directed, ordered, and requested Adam to go out from the Garden of Eden. To be sent out from the presence of Yahweh means that Adam suffered a spiritual death. Subsequently, wait, as it relates to keep, means that Yahweh commanded Adam to have his mind in a state of expectation or readiness for the likelihood of a future event to take place, or for the likelihood of a future event to prove true. Question: considering the fact that Yahweh directed, ordered, and requested Adam to go out from the Garden of Eden, how was Adam to keep the Garden of Eden? We will answer this question next week as we continue with the second direct commandment that Yahweh gave to man, Adam, which was to keep the Garden of Eden. I bear witness to you today that the Messiah, Yahweh ben Yahweh, is here.
I bear witness to you today that the Mahdi is here.
I bear witness to you today that Shiloh is here. I bear witness to you today that the great light is here.
I bear witness to you today that the Grand Master of the Celestial Lodge, Architect of the universe, is here.
I bear witness to you today that the Enlightened One is here.
I bear witness to you today that the one all religions has been speaking of for almost 6,000 years is here.
Thank you for listening, and join us next week as we continue our discussion of the commandments of Yahweh.
Most people are not aware of the fact that America is in the Bible. She is cryptically called Babylon, Revelation 18:2. In 1986, Yahweh ben Yahweh sent the president, vice president, his cabinet, every senator, and congressman the book Yahweh Judges America, which warned them of the inevitable destruction of America. This book explains all that the prophets said would come upon America in the day of judgment. You can now read what Yahweh ben Yahweh told the government over 10 years ago. To get a copy of Yahweh Judges America, call the number on your screen today.
Who is worthy? Who is worthy to open the book? Who is worthy to open the book and loose the seals thereof?
And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. At the end of time of evil rule, the Anointed One, the Messiah, shall appear. In 1979, Yahweh ben Yahweh came to Miami and became the spiritual leader and founder of the Nation of Yahweh. Although he took a vow of poverty, in 7 years he guided the nation to amass a $250 million empire. Under his direction, the Nation of Yahweh has grown to encompass disciples, followers, and supporters in over 1,300 cities within the U.S. and 16 foreign countries. Yahweh ben Yahweh is bringing about changes in the lives of individuals and is giving the world the keys to success in life, politically, economically, educationally, socially, and spiritually.
Yahweh has given the Messiah, Yahweh ben Yahweh, unlimited authority over the nations. Know of a surety that the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes. And unto him, Shiloh, shall the gathering of the people be. This is proof that Judah has retained a permanent right to rule. As a matter of fact, the scepter and staff represent the right to rule. This is a prophecy of Yahweh ben Yahweh, the Messiah, having continuous sovereignty forever. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end, upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 7. And Yahweh ben Yahweh the Messiah is standing and feeding in the strength of Yahweh, in the majesty of the name of Yahweh, his God. And we shall abide, for now Yahweh ben Yahweh shall be great unto the ends of the earth. Micah chapter 5, verse 4. The Messiah, Yahweh ben Yahweh, is speaking peace unto the heathen, and his dominion shall be from sea even to sea, and from the river even to the ends of the earth. Zechariah chapter 9, verse 10.
Yahweh ben Yahweh the Messiah is establishing his dominion through judgeship. Yahweh is making the Messiah, Yahweh ben Yahweh, of quick understanding in the fear of Yahweh. And he is not judging after the sight of his eyes, neither reproving after the hearing of his ears, but rather with righteousness is he judging the poor, and reproving with equity for the meek of the earth. And Yahweh ben Yahweh is smiting the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he is slaying the wicked. and righteousness is the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. Isaiah chapter 11, verses 3 through 5.
Remember that this is the morning of the third day, and I shall rise again. I am the resurrection. All of prophecy tells you that I shall rise again. It's all about that. Luke chapter 2, verse 34. No doubt about it. Again, I love you forever, bless you forever. I remind you once again, my associates are children of the light. That just brings laughter to my heart, to my soul, to realize that at last I have those of you that love peace. And I only want to be in the presence of those of you that love peace. I love you forever. Shalom Aleichem.
The scriptures bear proof that out of the house of Israel, Judah is chosen to be the ruler forever. But it is Yahweh ben Yahweh who shall sit upon the throne of David as the king over Judah, the house of Israel, and all the earth. Of the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end. Thank you for joining us in the universe of Yahweh. And now we'd like to invite all of you to pray with us as we turn to the east with outstretched hands and say a prayer to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Come, let us pray. Tefillah, Ave Nu Shabbat Shemayim, Yikar De Shemeaka, Tavo Malkuteaka, Yase Rezonka, Kiva Shemayim Keng Ba'aretz, Et Lekem Kukenu, Tain La Nu Hayom, Uslak La Nu, All Kati Enu, Ki Moshe Sol Kim, Gamanaknu, La Koteum La Nu, Veal Tefienu, La De Nisayom, Kim Kal Senu, Min Hara, Kilaka, Hamamlaha, Veha Givera, Veha Tiferet, Leolame, Olamin Sila. We thank thee, O Yahweh, O living and eternal King, who has so mercifully restored our souls within us. Selah. Praise Yahweh, and always remember that the Father, Yahweh, and his Son, Yahweh ben Yahweh, love you, and your host loves you too. Shalom Aleichem.
To order the companion book to the series, The Messiah Revealed, call 1-800-967-PEACE. That's 1-800-967-7337. And when you call, ask about the special discount on the crucifixion of the Messiah. Videos of this program are available. When ordering, please refer to the program number on the screen.
You can now access the divine mind of Yahweh ben Yahweh on the internet at the address on the screen.